How often do you wonder, where did my paycheck go? Or when is payday coming? The times when you live paycheck to paycheck are stressful, when you can't seem to get ahead, you can't get that debt paid off, you can't get that emergency fund saved. Everybody else seems to be flying past you and you're just waiting till the end of the month to get your next paycheck. The thing about living paycheck to paycheck is it robs you of peace. Half of the battle, though, is figuring out that there's a problem and taking responsibility for your situation. It's absolutely so much easier to pawn it off on some other person or situation that's out of your control. Inflation's too high, my boss doesn't like me, so I'm never going to get a raise. I need to wait for the government to reduce my debt, or I will never get ahead because insert whatever the newest narrative excuse is pervasive in society today. In this particular video, we are going to be discussing 11 hard to admit reasons that you are living paycheck to paycheck and my opinion on what you can do about it. Now, I don't know your particular situation. Everyone's reason or combination of reasons for living paycheck to paycheck is going to be different. Your reasons now could be different than they were even 5 years ago. I can specifically point to a combination of reasons that I got myself in pretty high debt in my early 20s and was living a life I could not afford. I was living for the next paycheck. My credit cards were up high. I had debt collectors calling. I couldn't make the minimum payments and I was barely scraping by with my basic needs. I have learned a lot in that 14 years, and that is why I am on this channel talking about the peace and the feeling of feeling financially under control and feeling the financial freedom that comes when you have peace of mind with your money. Problem number one, you are not organized. You forget to pay bills. Life continues to surprise you with bills you forgot about. You aren't tracking your expenses. You aren't planning ahead for future events. You aren't deciding what your goals even are. Listen, organization is more than just for reducing clutter within your things and your house. You have to be organized with your finances. Likely, if your house is really unorganized and chaotic, your financial situation is going to mirror that. The solution here is to clear off your table and put all of your money, finance, situation, everything out on that table. You need to know all of your debts written down. You need to know where they belong, who the contact is, what the interest rate is, what is the debt payoff. You need to know your fixed expenses, what your mortgage, your rent, your insurance, your car payment, things that come up on a regular basis. You need to know the averages of what you typically spend on things. You need to look ahead at the next 12 months. What big ticket items or items that aren't normal are coming in that I need to look at and put on my calendar. Now, however you want to do this, whether it is a spreadsheet or it is a paper notebook or a legal pad, have it all written down. When you can take back control of this, you can almost put it together like a puzzle. You take back control, you take back the stress of it, and you realize, oh, when I put it all together, I can make headway easier on this. Now, if you want me to make a specific video dedicated to simplifying life, decluttering, organizing, I am one who is a big reader and I really like to learn more about just optimizing life in general. So if you're interested in a video about that, let me know down in the comments below. Problem number two is very pervasive throughout society, and it is that you have a serious case of the lifestyle creep. No matter how much your income increases, somehow your expenses seem to go along right with it. They increase at the same rate. The thing about lifestyle creep is it can be very sneaky. In an article called "What is Lifestyle Creep and Should You Avoid It" on money.usnews.com, it says that lifestyle creep happens when an increase in income leads to an increase in spending on living expenses and non-essential expenses. In other words, things that were once luxuries when a consumer had a lower income become perceived necessities as they make more. No, your income doesn't magically make your cost of living more. It tends to make you think you are more entitled to an increased cost of living. Thus, you never get ahead, and no matter how much you make, you still wonder where your money went. The solution here is to stop making purchases with the excuse that you deserve them. Use that extra money you make to get your finances under control. Pay off debt. Put a certain percentage towards retirement. Start saving for the future bucket list items you have. Use the gap in your income and expenses for your future good. Use it to accelerate your bigger goals, and rather than momentary pleasures like steakhouse dinners or 7 days a week of luxury drive-through coffee. Problem number 3 is that most of your income above your basic expenses is going to pay on debt of things that you've already purchased. We think, oh, I really want this brand new car. We go and buy the car, we set it up on 5 years of payments. About 6 months in, everything's great, but then that new car smell gives way to stale French fries underneath the seat. Then you're stuck paying for another 4.5 years on something that you feel kind of meh about. People think, oh, I can afford the payment. Then they start to make these payments, and they see that these payments own them. They own their decisions. They own their future choices. Whether one of you can stop working so that you can stay home and take care of the kids, or an ailing parent, or you lose sleep because one of you might end up losing their job because of a downturn in the economy. They own your peace of mind that you could have, the peace of mind you could have if you had no payments, nothing due to someone else. You're robbing from your future self with these debt payments. What is the solution here? Put your credit cards in the freezer, cut them up, stop taking out any more debt. Freeze your credit so that it's harder to go and instantly buy something and put it on payments. You'd have to go and unfreeze your credit. Try something like the Dave Ramsey plan to get out of debt, where it's the first step is to save up $1,000 for emergencies. This keeps you from using credit cards for actual for emergencies that come up while you're doing the debt repayment. And then the second step is you go and you pay off your debt. You list it from smallest to largest, and you throw all of your extra margin of money towards that debt that you're working on at the time. Now, there is a reason people say that his method is extreme. And by the way, it isn't extreme. It makes complete sense to, I think, any non-indoctrinated 21st century human. However, people say this because as a culture, taking out debt has been normalized. It is just what we do now. And not taking out debt, seeing people who do that, you think that they're a three-headed monster. Now, his method works because what it does is build momentum, and momentum gives you motivation. Most people think that action follows motivation. I need to be motivated, then I'll go do this. But in actuality, action causes motivation. Once you start doing something, you'll continue to do it. Before we get to number 4, if you are enjoying this video and you think it would be helpful for someone else, please share it. Also, if you want to help push this video out to more people on YouTube looking for it in the algorithm, YouTube really likes it if you click on that like button. It also helps me out if you subscribe to the channel. You can also leave a comment down below and just say hi, let me know how it's going, and if these tips are helpful for you. Problem number 4 is one that is very prevalent, and it is that you are scared. You do not know, you do not want to know or uncover or lay it all out in front of you, your financial situation. You do not want to face it. If I don't turn around, I won't see the big bad monster. I will bury my head under the covers and won't see it. We fear. We avoid what we fear. The issues here are far above just, being in control of your money, your situation, because you don't know what it is. You are at risk of losing a lot of money. You may not see if you are being overcharged somewhere, if someone stole your credit card because you just don't check it, if you're being charged fees for something that you didn't sign up for. The unknown is way scarier than the known. The known you can make a plan for. You've probably heard people say, oh my goodness, I'm feeling this kind of pain in my side, and you can't get into the doctor for 3 weeks. And during that 3 weeks, your mind just goes in 16,000 different directions, and you catastrophize what it is because you don't know. You can't discover what it is yet. Fast forward to that 3 weeks, you find out, oh, it's just a slight problem here. I can make these 4 changes in my diet, etc., and it will go away. wow, okay, I just spent 3 weeks worrying about something. When I figured out what it was and I had a plan for fixing it, yep, that was way easier. It is the same thing with your money. I want to give you a quote by Zig Ziglar. And this quote is, "Fear has two meanings. Forget everything and run." Or, face everything and rise. The choice is yours. The solution here is to understand that what you conjure up in your head is usually bigger than what it appears when you see it in real life. Once you know the enemy you face, you can take action to destroy that enemy. My personal opinion is that I would rather live a life having faced my enemy on my time rather than having it lurking around and me not knowing what it really looks like. Stop being reactive and work towards being proactive. The fifth problem here is you fail to plan for larger, less frequent expenses. And a lot of these are known things like Christmas, kids' braces, tire replacement. The solution here is when you are budgeting for the next month, every single month, take a few minutes to sit there and see if there's anything coming up, any new expenses potentially coming up in the next few months that you might need to create a sinking fund for or a reserve fund. Now for us, this is usually something that maybe is over the $500 mark. For you, it could be different, but it's that amount that you know you couldn't cash flow in that month, meaning you don't have the extra margin there to easily pay that. You know, if something came up and it was a $20 fee, maybe that's easy to swing. So whatever that amount is for you. So let's assume you want to save, I don't know, $600 for Christmas. What do you do here with the sinking fund, or a reserve fund as I like to call it? Well, perhaps you usually buy your gifts in October. So from January through October, you save $60 a month. Now, let's say that you've got tires coming up. They say the tires are getting thin. Your mechanic says it's maybe about 6 months left. Go on Costco, see what the current sale prices are for a set of new tires. Let's use the same number, $600, just for even numbers in this video. And let's assume that's in 6 months. So you know you need to set aside $100 a month to do so. Number 6, you don't have an emergency fund. Maybe you do, but maybe another person watching this, and I'm going to assume a good amount of them don't, as the statistics on who can cover a $400 emergency are fairly low. Let me burst your bubble right now and tell you that life is kind of like playing dodgeball. I know they don't play dodgeball in schools anymore because, heaven forbid a kid get knocked a bit with a little rubber ball, but you will eventually. The thing about dodgeball, you will eventually get hit. You might get hit often. If you are slower, you will be hit more, right? The analogy I use this here is if your financial situation is not good and precarious, then you're like the slower person in dodgeball, and you're more likely to get hit quickly, and you're more likely to get hit often, because that's just the nature of that, not having a cushion there. The solution here is you have to make an emergency fund a priority. And like many things that I'm talking about in this video, you can't really do one without the other. All of these solutions are important and work together to make a good team. To be able to squirrel away an emergency fund, you have to budget. To be able to budget, you have to know your income and your expenses, what's coming in, what's going out. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you may have to either increase your income or decrease your expenses, and usually it's actually both. Set a goal. So let's say that you want to save up $1,000 and you think you can do it in 5 months. Find within your budget or make an extra $200 a month. So you're going to have to put it away if an emergency comes up. So let's say you're saving, you're at $400 and unfortunately you have a flat tire and have to replace that tire. $300, you're back down to $100. That's okay. Keep on going, because those dodgeballs will still hit you, but as you build that up, you're going to see that those dodgeballs are less impactful to you. Number 7, the problem here is you just don't make enough. There are only so many ways that I can talk about or other people can talk about reducing expenses. Sometimes the truth hurts, and it just comes down to you've got to increase your income. The solution here is you may have to make more, okay? So one spouse might have to go back to work and get a part-time job. If the situation is serious enough, you might have to set your pride down as well and go do something that you perceive as entry level. Perhaps you go and you're delivering pizza, you're doing a food delivery service, you take a part-time job at a big box store. The thing about this is you might be surprised how much you actually learn by doing that and how much you can earn, especially now. At the same time that you're doing that, you can look for a higher paying job in the skill set that you have, but you don't have to wait. You can do something in the meantime and then keep looking so you don't have that gap. But you might have to take this jump to, for a season, get your income up to reach those goals and stop being in that paycheck to paycheck situation. Number 8 is that you spend impulsively. You have good intentions, yet more often than not, you lose your willpower and you give in to your current self at the expense of your future self. You know it is better to eat the leftovers rather than going through the drive-thru and eating fast food, but your whiny current self says, oh, well, future me can handle that and all the implications and problems that come along with eating unhealthy and really expensive. I'm hungry now and I don't want to eat those nasty leftovers. The solution here is you have to decide once and for all that you are going to change this. This is where it's helpful to have a spouse, a friend, an accountability partner that can help you see straight at the moment when you have that little willpower. I can't tell you how many times my husband's done this to me. He said, you know what? I said, I'm just hungry. Let's just go out to eat. And he goes, nope, we have food at home. The 9th problem here is you spend a lot of time scrolling social media, and whether purposeful or not, whether conscious or not, you end up comparing your life and wanting to live theirs, wanting to have what they have. Let me tell you, there will always, it's a little secret, there will always be something you don't have that somebody else does. Someone who either makes more, has this, or has that. At no matter what level you get to, there's always another level above that. The solution here is to know that this life of comparison is like chasing the end of a rainbow. You never reach it. The marker just keeps being moved. One of the best books that I read, and I'll go back to the Dave Ramsey here because it's his daughter, Rachel Cruz, is Love Your Life, Not Theirs by Rachel Cruz. Fantastic read, especially for anybody who is in that comparison trap. The thing about one story that she talks about here is how she went on a 3-day awesome vacation to Charleston, South Carolina. If you've never been, it's a great area. Great beaches, not far from there either. Weekend was wonderful. It was well within budget. She comes home on a high of enjoying a wonderful trip. Then she sees that her friend is in Italy living it up. And suddenly her 3-day weekend trip to Charleston doesn't seem good enough. 30 seconds earlier, it was fantastic. So you see how that comparison trap can get you every single time. She immediately started Googling and seeing how much a cost to Europe would be, but she caught herself. Problem number 10 is you just fail to change your behavior. You really want to change, but you can't seem to make progress. You watch one of my YouTube videos and you're super motivated to just go for it, but then you go, I'll start that next month. You say, I can't save money. I don't make enough. I will never get ahead. There are all these beliefs that go through that almost prohibit you on purpose. And if you continue to believe those, then you're right. You're not going to, because you're going to continue to believe those. The solution here is that until you rewrite your narrative, you will stay stuck. Until you decide once and for all what you want and what you don't want. Do you remember that one time you decided and you were hell-bent on doing something and nothing could stop you? That is the stage of decision I am talking about that you have to get to. You can't drag yourself to success. You can't decide to do it sometimes and not do it other times. So get up and decide today is the day, this is the video, I start now. If you have made it to problem number 11, make sure you click on that thumbs up button down below. This problem is that you just don't have a plan. You don't have a plan for life or your money. You've probably heard the saying, make a plan or plan to fail. You can dream up your future all day long, sit and spend hours thinking about all the things you want, but until you put it on paper, map it out, it's just a wish. You threw a penny into a fountain and you said, well, I hope it magically appears. The solution here is you have to first start with what it is that you want your future to be. And the other thing is, don't limit yourself here. Have you heard the experiment that they did on fleas? Fleas, first of all, are gross, but this is a very interesting experiment, so just go with me here. Basically, they put some fleas in a jar. They lift the lid off the jar and the fleas were jumping out. Then they put the lid on the jar and the fleas hit their head a few times and they stopped jumping so high. So that one day they took the lid off and the fleas just never jumped out because they didn't think they could go that high. And what most interesting thing that they found is that the baby fleas that came after that from their parents knew that they also couldn't jump that high. So when you put a ceiling or a limit, or think there's a ceiling or a limit, then there is, then you won't keep striving for that. So once you decide what you want, you actually have to work backwards, not forwards. And what this looks like, so you've got that goal right here. And what I like to say is then you decide what are two big actions under that goal that can get me, okay? Well, then you branch out like a family tree chart. I don't know what that chart's called. I'm sure one of you will tell me, but it almost looks like a pyramid. And you go, okay, what are the 3 things I need to do to meet this goal that goes back to this goal? And what you'll discover, especially when it comes to money, is it all comes down to that budget, to seeing what the base part, the foundation is, the budget, the income and expenses, if it is a monetary idea, and that builds back up. But you have to start at the top, work yourself backwards from what you want your future self to be. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, that you got something out of it, that it lit a fire under you and you are ready to get past this living paycheck to paycheck, or living above your means, or just not feeling like there's any margin in your income and expenses. If it was impactful, again, please share it. If you enjoyed it, click on that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you back for more videos.